What if there was a way forward in life that was filled with ease, empowerment, and a sense of direction? I'm Debbie Rosenfeld, personal empowerment mentor and guide, and you're listening to Elevated Embodiment, a way to calm the chaos in life by taking radical accountability for where you are. This day, I am feeling calmness, peace, and gratitude, appreciation to the brim. I have the privilege of having one of my amazing mentors on today, who is a wise teacher, an intuitive teacher. And I will tell you, I have no doubt that this is going to be a powerful, powerful episode. Welcome, Kathleen Cameron.
Hello, Debbie. How are you, beautiful? You've got me in my feels already.
Mm, mm. Thank you for being here. I feel very, very blessed. I just wanted to have a conversation today so everybody knows that, as I shared, Kathleen's my teacher, one of my teachers and mentors, and she shared something with a group of us a few weeks ago. And it was so, so powerful that I said, Kathleen, would you please be a guest on my podcast? And she said, yes. And so let me share with you what I shared with her. Kathleen, when you spoke this morning to the loss of your friend's father, now I'm getting emotional, taking his life. You spoke to something deeper that touched me and had a huge impact on me. When you shared the awareness of it's not about the teaching, it's showing up as an example, yet actually living it, embodying the full experience of being human. And that's what the message that we want to share today is. It's just about allowing life to experience life and whatever journey we are on, to be with it, to allow it, to embody it.
And that's Debbie, I would say a newer awareness for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I began in this material and I started studying concepts of law of attraction and mindset, manifestation, universal laws, I started to collect information.
Mm-hmm.
And the more information I collected, the more I would know and then be able to speak back to you, to be able to teach it to you. But over the course of the journey, I was unconsciously competent at embodying the work. So what I mean by that is I would naturally, without my own awareness, conscious awareness, be able to embody those concepts, those ideas, and make them my own and have them move into my body. And it wasn't until I started working with Neale Donald Walsch that I realized just how unconscious I was in that. And, Bob said to me so many times, Kathleen, the reason that you experience the manifestations or the success is because I've internalized the information. But I couldn't fully put words to it. I couldn't describe that. It was like, well, how do I say that?
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't fully consciously aware of my ability to do that and the how in which I was doing it. So Neale Donald Walsch was the one who assisted me, because I went to him and I said, Neale, I started doing one-on-one coaching with him, and he said, how can I help you today, Kathleen? I said, Neale, I want to experience my human less. Help me. I want to be in spirit. I want to feel my oneness to God more. I want to be in a flow state. I want to be happy, joyful, excited all the time. I don't want to experience any of that other stuff, that sadness, grief, overwhelm, frustration. I don't want any of that. So how can you help me to stay up here?
Yeah.
He was like, Kathleen, why would you not want to experience the fullness of your human?
Yes.
And in that moment, I was just like, well, I don't necessarily like it. Like, I don't like to be sad. I don't like to grieve. I don't like to be overwhelmed. I don't like, to be frustrated. I like the feelings better when I'm happy. And he said, okay, that's amazing. But in order to have the full experience as a human, it is important to understand that by law, you will always experience those things. You will always experience the full range of emotion. But when you're trying to resist the experience, you're making it feel harder.
Mhm.
So it wasn't actually that I didn't want to ever experience them.
Yeah.
I just want that experience to feel better, to be lighter, to be easier. And what I've since really come to learn is that it's so important for me now to allow my human to to be present, to be there, to be heard, to be felt. And now, because I'm no longer resisting those emotions, they move
Yeah.
through me so fast.
Fast. Yes.
It's like
Yes.
fast. Mhm.
Yeah. And it's so powerful. And the thing is, not everybody knows your story of actually some trials and tribulations that you went through with your health a couple of years ago. And that was a really scary time. And I don't know if you want to share a little bit about that story, but my heart just went out to you, but also how you have shared the story and your resilience, but also allowing yourself to move through it as well.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, my health and my weight have been two very profound parts of my life. And I used to believe they were the same thing. I no longer believe that. So the way in which my body looks, the size of my clothing, the number on the scale, I have completely detached and removed that from the idea of health, separated those two things. And in separating those things, I found freedom,
Yeah.
freedom from my own mind, from my own thinking, freedom from the thought that what everybody thinks of me doesn't even matter. It has been quite freeing. So the first step was to fall in love with myself and to fall in love with my body in a larger size, in a larger stature. So for 2 years I built a very successful business at over 300 pounds, and I loved myself through every moment of it. And I stopped talking bad to her, and I truly have fallen in love with her. But in 2022, I wanted the experience of greater health. And I started to think to myself, what would it be like to really take care of this body? Because now I see all of the incredible opportunities available to me in this life, whereas before I didn't. So I didn't care so long. I didn't care how long this body lasts. It didn't matter. Now it matters. I want this body to last me a long time. So I started thinking about that. And when I started thinking about health, I made some changes. I started to walk, and I cut alcohol from my diet, and I stopped drinking coffee, things like that. And then April of 2022, this is where the universe responded to me in such a beautiful way and gave me an opportunity to express health in its fullest by giving me the polar opposite, which was the appearance of no health or
Yeah.
really poor health.
Yeah.
And I ended up with pneumonia in my right lung. I had a pleural effusion, which is fluid on the lung. And
Yeah.
then I ended up with 4 empyemas surrounding my right lung and trapping it to the size of a small coin. My
Wow.
organs were shutting down. So the only thing that they could do was to operate in emergency surgery in Miami on May the 10th of 2022. So I ended up in the ICU. I had a chest tube. I could not walk, could barely move. It was one of the most challenging human experience moments that I've ever had. It took me smack to the 3D world. Very painful, very uncomfortable, and very emotional. Nobody really talks about the emotional scars related to surgeries,
Yes.
but it was
Yes.
very, very emotional. So it was one of the darkest times that I've experienced. But because of this work and my focus upon ascension and growth and gratefulness and study, it took some time, but I found my way kind of out of that trough and rising again into, this woman that I am today, who is the healthiest I've ever been in my life at almost 42. So I see so much gratitude for that experience, and I actually can't imagine it not have happening. I'm so glad it did.
Yeah.
No matter how painful it was. But in those moments where it is hard, it is like that, those are the moments where we need to honestly turn to our oneness, turn to God more,
Mhm.
and perceive that oneness. So knowing that I was not alone, that I was supported, that is one thing that absolutely helped me.
Yeah, and you had your family as well as your friends, your
Oh
close
yeah.
friends just surrounding you and loving on you, but also lifting you up and spending that time, and it takes resilience, but it also takes that support when we go through really those difficult times. And it's those times, and you just said that as well. It's
Mhm.
those darker times that we experience that has us really appreciate where we are in this moment today from that. And so this conversation has just been really important to me because of two things. You know, my experience about losing my first son who died by suicide, but also seeing, you speaking to your friend about her dad. And he was studying this information. He had been in this information for so long. And it's not just about the teaching, it's about allowing ourselves to move through whatever it is that we are experiencing. And I know we all have our dark moments, but it's also seeing hope and surrounding us with like-minded people who have those kind of thoughts of, it will get better. It is getting better.
Yeah, and I think there is a different experience between someone that perhaps teaches or coaches this material
Hmm.
versus someone that exists as an embodiment of it.
Hmm.
And that's an awareness that I have definitely found. And so when I had found out that, he is no longer in his physical form and is now in his spirit, pure spirit form, and the ways in which it had happened, my question was, how is it possible for you to teach this and coach this and to help other people with this information, but you're not actually living it yourself? And I think that it speaks to how easily it is for us to just know a thing, but to actually know a thing spiritually means to exist as that thing. So I don't see myself as separate now from the information that I teach. I
Hmm.
see myself as it.
It's as it's a part of you. It's in your beingness, if
It
you will.
is in
Yeah.
every single day in every way.
I started following and listening and reading Bob's work back in 2006 when he was coming out. And I know he's been working in this for a very long time, but I always believed back then that, oh, I'll read this book and then I'll know it.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. I mean, I started this journey with Bob and then with you. So Bob was on March 14th, 2022. And then
Mm.
I was introduced to you through Shannon Mondor back at the end of 2022. And because I was leading one of our groups, a morning call study group. And there was a huge difference between what I was reading. So I was reading and I was gaining the knowledge, like you said earlier,
Yeah. Yeah.
but what I was hearing from you, and first off, your intuitiveness is so right on. It's just like I feel like you're talking to me, and I know each individual that works with you feels the same way.
Mm.
They feel this knowingness, and it's your energy. But as soon as I heard you share it from your beautiful way that you teach it and share it, and about the embodiment and about embodying the information. And it's just not knowing it, it's literally living it and being in it and taking if you will, the action steps. And when we do allow ourselves to experience life, experience each situation as it is, not make it right, not make it wrong, it just is what it is, it just brings this richness and fullness of life And you expressed that earlier when you were working with Neil Donald Walsh, of what he shared, or what you noticed once he said, well, gosh, yes, sure, you want to feel better. We always want to feel good. Yet, if we don't allow all of it, there's this missing piece.
There is. And the missing piece will show up for you in other ways of your life, you know. So for me, I had a separation of my marriage in February of 2022, and I do what I have always done, and I'm always like, I'm strong. I can get through anything. So I throw myself into my work, or, you know, I started walking every single day. I started reading a bunch of books, and I was like, let's go. You know, I'm fine. This is okay. And then when I ended up sick at the end of April, somebody sent me the spiritual meaning of pneumonia, and it's repressed grief. And as soon as I heard them say that to me, I went, yeah, like I hadn't allowed myself to grieve that such an important relationship in my life changed.
Yeah.
And of course the relationship with my daughters, I lived with them 24/7, now live with them part-time. So
Yeah.
these were two human experiences that would have associated emotions to them that I didn't allow myself to feel because I'm strong. Like I got this, you know? So since the surgery, I allow myself to feel every single emotion. I
Yes.
allow the emotion to move to and through me. And I'll even say, okay, what are you feeling today right now? What is that? And it's
Yes.
almost like my
Yes.
spirit's talking to my human saying, what's the human feeling today? You know, what is that thing? I have a journal right here. So this might be helpful for someone who does not allow their human to be experienced. I
Mhm.
created a specific journal for myself, brand new, opened it up, and right on the first page, I wrote, Kathleen, this journal is here for you to experience the fullness of your human. She matters. I love you, Casey. And so, just a little note to myself to remind myself that this human experience, these emotions, they're important and they're powerful. And if we don't allow them to move to and through us, they will build up, they will go into our physical body, and they will have a result, they will have an impact on us, you know. So
Mhm.
that's what I realized was likely what happened with my dear friend Madison's father,
Yeah.
is the emotions that he was feeling were not in alignment with what he was teaching. And so because he wasn't allowing them to go to and through, he was like, well, I teach this, I should know this, I should know this. So instead of allowing himself to deal with what was going on there and allowing his human to have the full experience and present itself and be raw and vulnerable and face that truth, it actually resulted in the termination of the human experience completely. And
Yeah.
I can see how that would happen so easily. I really can.
Mhm. Mhm.
But
Yeah.
one of the things that Neil said to me when we talked about the experience of the human, he said to me, I've never heard it referred to that way before, Kathleen, experience your human. And I was like, no. And he's like, no, that's your next book name. So I'm in the
Mm.
middle of writing my third book, and it's called Experience Your Human. So it's perfect name to talk about this thing that we're
Yes.
verbalizing right now, you know.
Yes.
But what he said was, Kathleen, it is so important for you. You teach through experience, not through concept. And so when you teach through experience and not through concept, it's because you are an embodiment, you live it, and you teach from what's happened to you, not what you think might happen to you if, you know,
Exactly.
yada yada yada. So I think, Debbie, that's what you feel. I think that's what other people feel. And
Mhm.
when people feel like I'm speaking directly to them, I think it's because I'm actually speaking from an experience within myself that you
Mhm.
likely yourself are experiencing or have experienced. And so energetically, we're coming from the same place. And
Mhm.
it just feels like we're in alignment because we are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
when somebody isn't necessarily fully grasping the fullness of what they're teaching, and they are teaching more from concept, I
Mhm.
think you might not recognize it. Like you won't have conscious awareness to say this isn't, they're not living it, but you'll feel it within yourself. You can feel
Yeah.
that the lack of resonance or the misalignment.
And I think you said a key word. No, actually, I know you said a key word, and that is alignment. And it's for really for us to even ask the question when we're feeling those really dark moments or at any time, am I in alignment? Because our spirit, our soul will respond to us. So I'll have a quick story to share with you. So, and I know you love this book. So, The Untethered Soul, that came into my life right after Kenny died. So it was, let's see, 2000, the beginning of 2009. And I was reading that book and it just spoke to my heart so deeply. And it was very cathartic and therapeutic at the time. And so I think it was in June, July, and I reached out to Michael Singer. I actually emailed him through his publisher and I said, asked him the question, will I ever be happy again?
Wow.
Because I was just feeling so sad and just grieving. And he responded back through his publisher. I was grateful for that. But what he said is exactly what you just shared, Kathleen, is, and he shared, allow all that you're feeling, all that you're grieving to move through you and not to hang on to it, but to allow it to move through you
Mm.
and just trust the process. Trust life because this is part of life. So when we allow our emotions, our feelings to move through us, it's a gift to ourselves because we're valuing and honoring
Yeah.
the human
Yeah.
experience. And I'll never forget that. I still have that email to this day because it was very moving. And I share it with other people who have lost a loved one just to encourage and empower them to know when we just allow everything that we're feeling to move through us.
So,
So,
Debbie, how would you answer your own question now from today
and that is the question.
about will I ever be happy again? What would you answer to yourself from where you are today?
Yeah, exactly that. And that is I just literally allow myself to feel it all. I still get angry. I still get upset, but I also know that's just a part of me and in the moment, and I don't have to do anything about it.
Mhm.
But just to feel it, it does feel uncomfortable. So what I do for myself is I go for a walk in Mother Nature because I'm blessed where I live. I'm surrounded by I live in the Pacific Northwest and surrounded by trees and Mother Nature and
Beautiful.
deer and yeah. And so that I even take a nap sometimes just to release because it's all about being able to allow it to move through, release. Even music, listening to emotive music is very honoring and, if you will, it just allows us to feel. And that's what I've been also doing is listening to very emotive music that really moves me. And I literally start crying. Tears start coming to my, but it's allowing the emotions to
Yeah,
come out.
absolutely.
So
And I
beautiful.
and I think it's so important for us to do things like that. I think sometimes what happens though is that we get into the habit of continuing to replay and revisit and re-experience things over and over again. I think about there's like an episode of Friends that I used to watch, and somebody was going through a breakup or something, and they go into the kitchen and they grab a tub of ice cream and spoons and put on sad music and experience this breakup together and support each other through it, right? But then the woman does it again the next day, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then you're just like sitting in it and staying in it.
Yes.
So for
Yes.
me, what I'll do with music, Debbie, too, is like if I'm feeling like there is some heaviness in my
Mhm.
body right now, and usually I can go back to like, what email did I just see, or what did I just hear about somebody, or who did I just think about, or who am I missing? I can go back and find the root of the heavy feeling, and then
Mhm.
I will put on a song that lets me let the feeling through.
Mm.
So
Beautiful.
not a song that's going to distract me from the heavy feeling, because I can put on a pumped up, inspiring, beautiful song that makes me feel like a badass and like, but that doesn't allow the emotion. That's actually
Right.
distracting. So I'll put on
Exactly.
a really powerful, beautiful, emotional song. You said emotive. I think that's what you mean. And
Hmm.
I'll let that emotion move through. And then once it comes through, guess what? I feel amazing and the heaviness is gone. I just needed
Yeah.
a good cry. Right. And
Yeah.
so,
Ex- exactly. It's like when we do cry, it allows all that, just like we feel so much better
oh,
after
yeah.
we cry. Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be a cry either. It can be an expression of frustration. Like, I'm so mad right now. I use my journal to express. I'm like,
Yeah.
how am I feeling about this situation? I'm disappointed. I'm frustrated. I'm mad. I'm angry. And then that's it.
Yeah.
So I'm getting to this point where I want to experience the fullness of my human.
Yeah.
And I'm practicing the ability to experience the uncomfortable feelings in a faster way so that they
Mhm.
don't, I can move through them in 5 minutes instead of, something that used to take me 3 days to get over, I can move through it in 5 minutes.
I'm noticing that too. When we allow ourselves to really feel, and it's like it happens a lot faster, a lot quicker.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Things that used to take me out. Like, I
Mhm.
used to
Mhm.
get my feelings hurt. I would be upset. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I'd be thinking about it. Now I surprise myself and I'm like, wow, like I haven't even thought about it again. Or, wow, that really isn't bothering me. And so I'm surprised by my own ability to move past things faster, but that's good
Yeah.
because that's beautiful awareness of your growth, and that's how you continue to grow is to celebrate yourself. So it's a good thing.
Exactly. It's all a good thing. And so, any last words of wisdom that you would like to share? And I just want to say thank you again so much for just
Oh,
being here. You've really touched my heart. So, thank you.
I am so honored to be here, Debbie. You are such a beautiful light in my life, and it just every time I listen to you speak, I'm just so calming. That's what everybody says. Your voice is just so calming and so beautiful. The last thing that I will say is when people think manifestation, I really think that they think that we're talking about just manifesting some nice experiences in your life, some more money, manifesting the love of your life, manifesting your dream home or the nice car. But the reality is that what I'm actually helping people to do is to manifest an elevated human experience,
Yes.
whatever that means for you, right? So success might be part of it, but it is by law that we are always going to experience contrast, things that appear to be in contrast to what we want. We are going to lose people in our lives. Relationships are going to change. We're going to have breakups. There will be conflict. There will be illness. There will be all of these things, no matter how much money you have in the bank, no matter if you're in a loving relationship or living in your dream home. The contrast will always be there. So I want to help people to ride the waves of life with greater ease and flow, with greater resilience, to embody this material so that no matter what, you remain happy and joyful and you return to who and what you really are, which is your oneness with source energy. And so yes, it's about manifesting, and I will teach you how to manifest. But I want to teach you to keep your manifestations and to be happy while the contrast shows up. And that's the real truth and honesty of the human experience.
This was a 6-2 studio production. Find us at six-two.studio for all your creative sound needs.